the biggest thing, from a public backlash is obviously Tyson's a person that talks a lot, and he speaks about other people's situations. And like I've seen the key one being obviously David Haye.
Pro boxing fans here in London. Frank Smith just showing me a dance move just there. I'll give you a solid 4. I'll push it to a 5.5 out of 10.
Thank you, mate.
Not bad.
I think it was very low level stuff, but it's more for me. It's more about entertainment. I want to give you entertainment.
I've seen you entertaining. I've seen you being a backup singer. Doing your thing with Ed Sheeran and stuff.
Oh, no.
Talk to me about that, mate. What's going on?
I feel like he was more my backup singer. I feel like that was more my show. He's obviously a big star in the music world, but I feel like I had a lot of stage presence that day. But we're big karaoke fans. We're actually coming to karaoke bars near you. We're actually going to open a set of karaoke bars together.
Interesting. Oh, you're just blagging that. You just blagged that.
Like rubbish, really. Okay. Yeah. But it was good fun.
I just want to talk about boxing with you. Obviously, you've got the next gen card. Just talk to me about how important these are. I was talking to Eddie as well. I said, whilst you've got these big glamour fights in Saudi and Vegas and everything else, I'm sure these are as much up there in your roster to make sure the prospects go through the stages correctly. Yeah,
it's so important to build up the stars of tomorrow and give them the opportunity to see what it feels like, to headline cards, to be high up cards, because, rather than just chucking them in the deep end on these big nights, these are just as important as anything, and these are the stars of tomorrow. You've got fighters on there, the likes of Cameron Vong, for example, who is, he's got the opportunity to be a big name in the sport for a long time. Shannon Ryan as well, the kids coming through, Liam Dillon's a tremendous fighter, just 12-0, taking on Reece Belotti, an experienced fighter. Sometimes the idea of next gen is not just, both fighters next gen. Like some people say, Reece Belotti's been around a long time, he has, but it's that experience going in against a young future fighter who's coming through. Look, they're brilliant for us. We need to do more and more if we can, and it's going to build the stars of tomorrow, as I say.
I do want to talk about certain fights. First of all, Craig Richards, great to see him back. It's been, I think they said 19 months it's been. How quick, or what do you want to do with Craig? Because it's potentially, the division is huge. There's quite a few fights, and fighters are already talking about fights. But what's the sort of plan with Craig?
Yeah, look, Craig's one of those fighters who never turned down anyone. He fought Dimitri Bivol, gave him a great fight in a time where no one really wanted to fight Dimitri Bivol. No one was calling out Dimitri Bivol's name, even now. We all know about the number of fighters who have turned down that opportunity with Dimitri Bivol. Craig jumped in there and put up an unbelievable fight. Then fought Boxeo as well and put up a great fight there. That was a tremendous fight between those two, very close. We need to deliver Craig the big fights, and that's our job. The key for now was getting him on the show, getting him active. As you say, 19 months out of the ring, it's a long time. And before we go into one of those bigger fights, he needed this type of night. And look, this is by no means a walk in the park. We saw Boris against Lyndon Arthur after I think it was a day's notice he had in that fight, and he put up a real fight in there. So, I think it's the perfect type of fight Craig needs to set him up. One thing I would like to say, obviously Craig is not next gen in terms of, but it was a perfect date to get him out, and it made sense. So we wanted to make sure we could box.
I think in regards to next gen, I think most of them are. Yeah. Obviously, Belotti is someone that we've known for a long, long time. But Liam Dillon's still fairly young, even though he's a champion. Let's talk about, just going off Craig Richards, the name that he's been into is Anthony Yard. We're hearing now, and today, that Boxeo Yard is being talked about now for the summer, possibly Wembley. Just talk to me about that one. Now it seems that if that fight is the fight that's going to happen, then what do you do with the rest that you've got? Because we know Callum Smith was linked to Anthony Yard as well for this 5v5 in Saudi. So what happens if this fight does happen with Callum and Craig?
Let's see. I think Anthony Yard was definitely a name we were looking at for Craig. There's other fights out there for him as well. Look, the Anthony Yard-Joshua Boxeo fight would be a great fight. Whether they can make that happen, I'm not sure. Obviously two different broadcasters. But let's see. Look, we've got to take it step by step. Our focus, though, is to deliver a big fight for Craig Richards. And he will take fights, and that's the big difference. A lot of these guys aren't willing to take fights, but he will take fights. So let's see. Saturday night's a big night, or tomorrow night's a big night for him, because it's a long time out of the ring, and he needs to get back in there, get active, and feel good.
Talking about this Saudi card on the 1st of June, Are you looking to make any signings? Is there going to be like a transfer window that opens for a couple of weeks where you might have to pull in some fighters?
I think we missed the football transfer window, so we're going to have to extend it a bit. We're looking at the plans now. Obviously, we're working through the weight divisions. I think Eddie's gone into some detail around that, how that's set up. But nothing set in terms of fights just yet. Look, there's 15, 20 fights out there that we can make between our stable currently. But yeah, it doesn't stop us getting other fighters on board and bringing them into the mix. So that's definitely something we can look at as well.
Talking about Callum Smith, I do want to talk about another Smith, Dalton Smith, Adam Azim being called by the EBU. Adam's already put out a tweet saying it's going to be Ramadan, so there needs to be time for an extension for that fight to happen. I think it works out better for you guys because Dalton's going to be fighting next month anyway. Do you feel like that happens? Do you feel like we are going to get this fight? I spoke to Eddie, said, listen, let's just make these fights happen, man. Let's not wait. Let's make these fights happen. Do you feel like this fight can happen, will happen?
Yeah, look, you've got the EBU have actually just said they'll delay the purse bids. I actually don't disagree with that. Dalton Smith's fighting Cepeda on March 23. It's a big step up. It's a huge step up and a massive fight for him. He's focused on that. As you say, Adam Azim, obviously with the Ramadan period, won't be training. I think they're looking at beginning of April now for those bids. Hopefully they don't pull Adam Azim out. I'm supposed to be meeting Ben Shalom later. So let's see what happens. But it's a great fight. Dalton, though, has got to focus on March 23 because, as I say, Cepeda's a real step-up fight. But it just shows the level he's at and the level the team and all of us believe he's at going into that type of fight. But, yeah, I think too many times we look at these fights and say, oh, delay it or wait down the road. But so many things can happen, so many things can change. I think it's time to get it done. It's a great fight.
What's your relationship like with Ben? Is it first time meeting him or is it you guys normally sit down?
I've met him a couple of times. Look, it's not... I'm a very cordial person. I'll sit and, look, we just want to make good business. We've obviously got our differences ongoing with various things, but we have to treat independent fights as they are. And if we're discussing Dalton Smith against Adam Azim, we want to do the best possible deal for our client. And if that means Dalton Smith going on another platform, that means that. He's done it once before. But let's see how things go.
But naturally, with you guys and Boxer, because of obviously we know there's certain lawsuits going on, that it's going to be very hard to make business. It probably is very hard. But how do you sort of overcome that? Because I'm sure there's a bit of bad blood in there somewhere. Look,
the legal positions and the legal disputes are dealt with by the lawyers. We're very, we have our position and our case. I'm not going to sit there and talk about it, just like I wouldn't talk about it in here. It's not. What I sit and say in a meeting doesn't really make a difference today, and it doesn't even come up. I'm not going to discuss that. I'm going to discuss whatever we're essentially forced to discuss, and that right now is Dalton Smith against Adam Azim by the EBU. If there's other purse bid fights that they don't pull their fighters out of, then we'll discuss those as well. But let's let the lawyers deal with the other stuff. That's for them to do, not me, fortunately.
I do want to talk about the big breaking news last week in Tyson Fury Alexander Usyk. A lot's been said by Team Usyk, who obviously feel aggrieved by the whole situation because they felt like the talks went on initially for too long and now they've got to wait a bit more. What do you make of some of the stuff that's come out in regards to whether the cut happened in that spot, whether the cut was real from Team Usyk? Can you understand why they're so aggrieved on with this extra delay?
I can probably understand the initial frustration because it's been delayed a few times. I can understand if you're sitting there going, right, should have been here, should have been there, should have been, now you're in May. So I get that, and that, frustration can come out sometimes, and, I can't see the side of it. He's got a quite clear cut. You're not cutting your eye open that would affect you in future fights. There's a lot of other ways you can pull out of a fight. Is the reality. If he didn't want to fight, if he was, he's not cutting his eye open. I think the biggest thing, from a public backlash is obviously Tyson's a person that talks a lot, and he speaks about other people's situations. And like I've seen the key one being obviously David Haye, and it's just a repeat of what happened between the two of them, 8-10 years ago. So naturally, if you talk a lot, people, when these moments happen, are going to do the same. But yeah, it's a genuine cut. You can quite clearly see that. And look, they've all done a great job to get it up and running as quickly as possible. So good. Looking forward to seeing it.
Do you feel like it is advantage Usyk with this now, with the cut so close to the fight, even though it's a couple of months away, that maybe Usyk changes his game plan, targets that eye to see if something happens with it? Do you feel like it has given Usyk a bit of an advantage, or do you feel like it's the same as normal?
Look, they're both brilliant fighters. They're both amazing at what they do, and I'm sure they'll go in there with game plans. But at the end of the day, the best man will win on the night, and there won't be any excuses, I'm sure, from either of them. So, you know, I think we're just looking forward to a great fight between the two of them.
Conor Benn. Obviously, Gervonta Davis. Conor put 5 names up there. I said probably 3 of them are not realistic. Gervonta's the one that's actually reached out, and I think Barrios is the other one that's more realistic. Talk to me about that. What's the latest? Can we see that fight really happening? Eddie's saying Gervonta wants the money. It doesn't matter about anything else. He just wants good money. Can we really see that fight happening?
Anything's possible, I think, but the key focus is, you know, we spent so much time focusing on individual names, the key one being Chris Eubank Jr. I think now we just need to focus on delivering a big fight for Conor Benn, whether that's one of 5 or 6 names. That will be what's next, a big fight. He's obviously got, you know, the impending case should be finalised very soon. We want to get him back to the UK. Naturally, look, I believe he's in the top 4 names in British boxing right now. Conor Benn, you know, you've obviously got Anthony Joshua, Tyson Fury, Chris Eubank Jr. has to be up there, and Conor Benn. You know, maybe there's a couple of others, but they're definitely up and around there. You know, people have been talking about him for a long time, and we want to get him back here. But we need to deliver a big fight, and that will be the focus.
David Haye and Bill came out when Conor won, and we've heard the news now. It looks like April 20th. David Haye, Ryan Garcia. Talk to me about that one. That's a very good fight. Eddie was saying Bill was doing some negotiations on behalf of you guys, but yeah, talk to me about that fight.
Yeah, Bill's obviously been working through that. It's a massive fight. Hopefully it can all get done and announced very soon. It's a huge fight for the sport. Devin Haney's shown time and time again why he deserves to be at that, you know, where he is in the sport, because he never shies away from any challenge, and he wants the biggest fights possible. You know, and it's definitely a fight that is going to resonate with the American audience and globally as well. You know, look, they're both huge social media stars, but also at the same time amazing fighters. So I think we're going to have a big fight on our hands.
Talking about Chris Eubank Jr., what you're hearing in regards to him, there's not much come out since obviously the whole Conor Benn fight falling through. There's talks about possibly a Kell Brook fight. Is this something that you're hearing? Is there anything you know in regards to that?
I obviously don't represent Chris Eubank Jr. I don't really get involved with him when it comes to business, you know, obviously the family relations, but I don't really get involved in that side. Obviously, you know, he's represented by Callis Owl, and I don't know what they're looking at right now. I keep saying I've spent so much time trying to make Conor Benn against Chris Eubank Jr. I will never personally give up on that one, but I will personally stop talking about it to help people.
That's fine. Final one for myself. Your good old mate Carl Froch and John Fury have been going and having a back and forth. They're talking about let's just get it on for a charity. Is that something that you'd watch? Is that something you'd tune in for?
Not really. I think John Fury would lay him out.
Do you think so? Yeah. Carl's in shape though. He's never lost that shape, so it looks like he's still training.
I don't know. Carl Froch is a professional boxer. John Fury's very tough. I'm not saying anything about the two of them. They'll probably come and lay me out, the two of them. So I'm staying out of it. But it's not a fight. It's not a fight I see people calling for, to be honest. Carl Froch against John Fury. But each to their own. Let's see.
Frank Smith, always a pleasure. Thank you so much for giving us your time, and yeah, keep working on the dancing skills and singing, and next time we might give you a 10 out of 10. So man, thank you very much. Appreciate that. Cheers, Frank.